Hi folks, first of all let me apologise if I look a little bit melty or wilted. It's Australia and we're going through a heat wave, and when Australia does a heat wave, well, let's just say it's been 41 degrees centigrade most of the day, so I'm a little bit whew. Secondly, this is a particularly good video to do this, so I want to acknowledge that the traditional owners of the land on which I live, work and film are the Ngunnawal people, and I give my respect and honour to their elders and their ancestors. This is something we do in Australia, particularly at public events, for those of you who aren't Australian, to recognise the traditional owners of the land, the Indigenous Australians who have been here for anywhere between 40,000 to 100,000 years, depending on where you are in the country. So the Ngunnawal people are the traditional Canberran people, and so yeah, what we do at the start of things is acknowledge the land on which we stand, and I thought it was particularly appropriate for this video because I'm here to talk about My People by Oodgeroo. This is a poetry collection. Oodgeroo is a woman of the Noonkanal people of Stradbroke Island in Queensland. She was born with an English name, Kathleen, and her married name was Kath Walker, and later on in her life she took on her traditional name of Oodgeroo, and that's what most of her work is now published under. One of my treasured childhood books is one of Oodgeroo's books and called Stradbroke Dreaming. This book was a collection of stories both from her own life growing up on Stradbroke Island and of the traditional stories which white people refer to as Dreamtime stories, but it is referred to Altringa is what Indigenous people refer to it as. So the ancient stories. So yeah, this book, My People by Oodgeroo, it was originally published in 1970, so most of the poems were written in the 1960s. And this copy that I have is the 4th edition. I think it was published 2 times before her death and 2 editions after her death. And I really enjoyed reading this. It's the kind of poetry that I really like. When I read poetry, I like poetry that is not difficult to interpret, that has a story or a concept or an idea that is quite clear. I'm not really a fan of sort of, how would you put it? I'm not really a fan of sort of the more esoteric sort of similes and metaphors that take a great deal of untangling to understand. I like my poems to be quite clear in their subject matter, and I like them to have a really strong rhythm. I read a lot of the poetry that I do read, I read it out loud because I think that's probably the best way to understand a lot of poetry. And this lot of poetry is just what I like. It's very clear, it's very rhythmic, it's very easy to speak. And I think a lot of the poems, even though it was first published in 1970, they're incredibly relevant to today, not only for Indigenous Australians and for all Australians, but I think they can be related to the entire world. Some of the poems are to do with stories about traditional stories or stories that are histories sort of a long time ago, or of events that happened, places that are important. But a lot of the poetry is also highly political. Some of it acknowledges the pain that Indigenous Australians have been through, that they have suffered, that they are still suffering. Some of it really examines the attitudes of non-Indigenous Australians, so the white people, the people that came in and tried to take control. But still, a lot of it is very hopeful as well. And that's what I really appreciated. It's incredibly painfully relevant to today's society, but it's also hopeful, and it's also trying to push for that step forward in a way that I think is still very helpful. And I wanted to read a particular poem that really resonated with me. This particular poem is called The Aboriginal Charter of Rights. And it was prepared and presented to the 5th Annual General Meeting of the Federal Council for the Advancement of Aborigines and Torres Strait Islanders in 1962. So I'm just going to read this one poem. We want hope, not racialism. Brotherhood, not ostracism. Black advance, not white ascendance. Make us equals, not dependents. We need help, not exploitation. We want freedom, not frustration. Not control, but self-reliance. Independence, not compliance. Not rebuff, but education. Self-respect, not resignation. Free us from a mean subjection, from a bureaucrat protection. Let's forget the old-time slavers. Give us fellowship, not favours. Encouragement, not prohibitions. Homes, not settlements and missions. We need love, not overlordship. Grip of hand, not whip hand wardship. Opportunity that places white and black on equal basis. You dishearten, not defend us. Circumscribe who should befriend us. Give us welcome, not aversion. Give us choice, not cold coercion. Status, not discrimination. Human rights, not segregation. You the law like Roman Pontius. Make us proud, not colour conscious. Give the deal you still deny us. Give goodwill, not bigot bias. Give ambition, not prevention. Confidence, not condescension. Give incentive, not restriction. Give us Christ, not crucifixion. Though baptized and blessed and Bibled, we are still tabooed and libelled. Use devout salvation sellers. Make us neighbours, not fringe dwellers. Make us mates, not poor relations. Citizens, not serfs on stations. Must we native old Australians in our land rank as aliens? Banish bands and conquer caste, then we'll win our own at last. I felt really moved by that poem because it's not just saying that there's a problem. It's saying to people, this is how we fix the problem. And I think that's really important, you know, as much now as it was in 1962, to listen to the people and say, this is what we want. We don't want a handout. We want to be equal. And you might have noticed in that particular poem, it made specific reference to Christianity, and a lot of Oodgeroo's poems do look at the way that many people practice Christianity in a hypocritical way, in a non-compassionate way. And I think that's also a really important thing now, like it was then, that, you know, some people are missing the point. Yeah, so that gives you a real taste of what this collection of poetry is like. And I really love it, and I think it's really important, so I wanted to do a separate video about it. So if you get the chance to pick up a copy, whether from your library or from an online, I think it's on Book Depository, or from a store, I think it's really worth picking up. So that's probably enough. This is supposed to be a really short video and I'm sweltering, but yeah, My People by Oodgeroo, definitely check it out. Even if you don't read much poetry, I think it's really simple poetry to understand, but still really beautiful and really important. So thank you very much, and there should be another video coming this weekend. I believe I'm due my January book haul. So I will see you again soon. Bye.